Hello, collective. Welcome in. So we had Lionsgate last night here in Australia. It's Lionsgate currently for you guys over in America, and we have the full moon in Aquarius tonight. So I wanted to jump on because I had a few things coming up last night, and I thought, well, we might as well talk about the things that were coming up. And then I haven't had a chance to get in and do as many collective energy updates as I wanted. What's really interesting is as I was sort of pulling out some decks and getting set up here, first of all, as soon as I opened the decks, I had two decks that were just talking to me, spilling cards everywhere. And then when I went to sit down, I spilled my tea. So it took me like 40 minutes to get set up. And I realized I don't know what I'm going to do here. It's like no place. It's the middle of the day, right? It's 2 o'clock. And look at the lighting. Like the lighting's absolute dog shit. So I do need to get myself down to Walmart and pick myself up some lights that I can use just so, because, you know, if I sit back, it's like you can't even see my face. Okay, so Lionsgate last night brought up quite a few interesting things for me. First of all, what is Lionsgate? So Lionsgate is the point when we are in celestial alignment with Sirius. And Sirius A and B are a binary star system that are not too far away from us. They're in our galactic neighborhood. And there are apparently Sirian star seeds. I've met a couple of people who believe that either their ex-partners or their friends were Sirian star seeds. I don't know any personally. But they have, it's a rich galactic history here. And Lionsgate is about when the Nile used to flood. It was seen as a time of rebirth for Isis. So you would get a lot of like dousing of the statues of Isis and providing flowers, and it was essentially the new year in ancient Egypt. And like I said, coincide with the flooding of the Nile. So the presiding goddesses over the Lionsgate are Isis and Sekhmet. And Sekhmet is really dear to my heart because Sekhmet is essentially what I would do if I were pulling out of the Egyptian pantheon and plunking into the Hindu pantheon. Sekhmet would be one of Kali's reincarnations. So I've got very strong feelings towards that. What do they say about Kali? She's a fierce destroyer to all that don't follow her. So embarrassing. Clearly, these people like being leaders. But then she's the most gracious mother, where she'll even like slice her wrists and feed her followers on her blood. So that is like, the meaning of that is about having sort of deep soul nourishment. I just realized that my microphone's probably better over here, so I'm just gonna move that. Okay, so what was coming up for me was interesting. I was getting a lot of downloads that I do feel like are tied to the full moon, which is tonight. So Aquarius is a sign of sort of, I want to say radical independence, but I don't quite mean that. I actually mean emotional independence, which allows a lot of Aquarius people to be a bit quirky. They don't care about, they tend to dress differently, not follow norms and standards, and sometimes they can be a bit awkward. These are people who might be, your goths in society, or just any of those sort of like fringe alternative fashion, language, that Aquarian energy is just about things that are a little bit quirky, a little bit outside the norm. Um, so what came up for me was a return to our previous new moon in Capricorn about some strategies that I had devised for a personal challenge that I was going through in my life that wasn't, it's like not your most direct strategy to alleviating the challenge there, but nonetheless, it was a strategy that I had come up with. And it's been 6 months, and it was interesting because I thought that I had sort of talked myself out of employing that strategy about 6 months ago. So I came up with it, played with it for about a month, and then I put it down. Well, now it's coming up 6 months later as maybe being my only option or my only opportunity to alleviate challenges and close out some areas of conflict or misunderstanding or whatever in my life. So that was interesting for me that was what was coming up. I had a couple of I'm not gonna actually talk about the flyouts that I had when I was unpacking here, because I think that those messages were directly for me. But I had a couple of cards come out before that they were sort of slid out of the deck when I was getting set up, and it says, the first one is card 43. It says, why do I want the relationship that I want? So these are probably good things to be thinking about now at this full moon. So I guess there's some relationship questions here. It says, think about what you want in a relationship and why you want it. Look for those around you who are experiencing good relationships and feel appreciation for them. Make lists of the positive aspects of those good feeling relationships you have spent time with. In fact, one of the fastest ways to make your way to a wonderful relationship is to find any subject that consistently feels good, even if it has nothing to do with relationships, and focus on that. So that was not a pull card. That card just sort of slid out of the deck. So I will now pull a card for the collective, which is interesting. This is the last card that came out in my last reading. So on the new moon, we were talking about, and we had this card here, which says, every relationship I establish is eternal. Essentially, that is true, both from a quantum perspective, but also just from a pragmatic perspective as well. If you can remember something, then that relationship is still ingrained into our thought patterns, and a lot of what we are, not all of what we are clearly, but a lot of what we are is our lived experience, which is stored as neural memories in the brain, neural pathways in the brain. So every time we do have experiences, that does become part of us. Okay. I've got a couple of other cards that have come out here, but I think I just actually want to dive in and take a look at some tarot. So we're just going to use the traditional Rider-Waite here. And then we'll probably do some clarifying with the light seers. Okay, so let's just, I'm going to grab both of those. So I don't know, oh, yeah. Ooh, there we go. I'm like, where can we go so that we can all see these cards? I have to move further this way. I have to move into the dark zone. All right. And I wanted to pull a couple of rows, so let's see if we've got anything else that wants to jump out straight away, or whether we should. There we go. Okay. So let's just take a look, and we'll put these here. So what has come out? I still haven't, it's really interesting because I don't know how to get my screen to stop shutting off when I'm recording. I've turned off in my settings the sleep mode, and then yeah, because if the screen shuts off and then it stays off for more than 10 minutes, then it stops the recording. So that's why I'm constantly like running over here and jiggling around with things. Okay, let's take a look at the top row. Well, the bottom row actually came out first, as in sort of these cards flipped over first. So let's take that as the top row and see where we're going. Okay, so the first card that came out was the Eight of Wands. And the Eight of Wands turned up next to the King of Swords and the Two of Cups. So, I mean, we could say that this could just be, it can be a message. So the Eight of Wands is generally a card of quick communication, rapid communication, or like stacking your bets on something, like putting all your eggs in one basket or all your bets on one horse or something like that. The King of Swords can be a very cold and calculating person, a very logical person. If this indeed represents a person, it can also represent an establishment. I generally use the High Priest to represent law and order, but some people do use the Knight of Swords, or sorry, King of Swords. And then the last card we have is about partnership or a relationship. So this could say that there is some quick logic or quick communication, quickly communicated logic about a relationship coming in the future. This can also say that right now we have an opportunity to, with this Wands energy, sometimes I read the Two of Cups as a partnership card, but then other times I will read it as like the union of male and female energies. So you can see on this card they've got, and I don't remember exactly what this is called, it's the symbol that they also use for like in the medical industry, right? Where essentially you've got the snakes curling up the staff. I think traditionally this had one turn for every chakra, so it did represent the Vedic system of chakra system and Kundalini rising energy. So what this could also say is that if we are able to cut things out, if we are able to remain clear and balanced in our thought, that we will have the opportunity to have this Kundalini arising or awakening experience. Okay, so on the second row, we have the Fool, the Three of Pentacles, and the Five of Wands. So the Fool card is about new beginnings. It is about not spiritually having everything you need to begin a journey. So it doesn't say that you're not the magician yet. You don't have mastery over the elements, but everything, all that spirit needs for you to set out on this journey is contained in your little backpack, and you're ready to roll. You're ready to start and step out in a new direction. The Three of Pentacles is our card of collaboration, but it's also a card about contracts. So it can be talking about work contracts, um, contracts for, you know, rental or living. Um, you know, it generally doesn't mean like purchasing a new car or anything, but anything that would involve a bunch of people to come together and nut out the details on something, or um, put the finishing touches on something, or agree to build in a certain direction. The Five of Wands is a card of conflict. So what this says to me is that I'm getting two separate sort of messages. The first one is that something new that you've embarked in or endeavored on since our last reading with the I'm antsy as right now. I'm like, got ants in my fucking pants. All right. I can't find where I want to sit down and stay still. I don't particularly like reading at the edge of the table, but we're all right. We'll get there. Okay, so this is a little bit about, what should I say? Oh, I was talking about ants in my pants. I don't know. It's saying that, okay, so that's where I was. So since the new moon, which was 2 weeks ago, we are now in a period where we've set out in a new direction to stabilize something in for us, but that thing that we have tried to stabilize in, it's causing a little bit of conflict, and that's one reading right there. Another reading is, you know, if we were talking about this idea of logic and communication in a relationship, this can also say that setting out in this new direction of having that give and take and that conversation is something that in and of itself is potentially causing conflict. Okay, I kind of feel like I'm done with that tarot for now. I wanted to dive in, and I like the secret language of darkness. You know, we don't have dark without the light, and I can be a bit of like a love and light type person, but I'm not like that all the time. I usually shy away from heavy conversations, but I am generally fixated on good things. So, which is also not true, because I'm a Virgo, so I can be nitpicky. Where am I going with that? The point was just that what I've been noticing in the last month is that it's been really helpful to look at integrating shadow lessons and to see the light and the dark in everything. Particularly for me this month, there was some issues around, you know, a business opportunity that I found quite challenging. At first, because I thought it was a negative, but then you could actually just read that whole situation in terms of a complete positive, and I decided that that was my better option. Because we don't really know the outcome, and we don't really know what's going to happen there. And so it's an opportunity, and to see it as an opportunity to progress in the way that we want, and to take each next step that we take to be guiding us in the direction that we want, has been really positive for me. So I think, let's see if we can get a couple of cards here from the secret language of darkness. And I think, you know, with this full moon energy, it's a lot about, full moon energy is about manifesting and, you know, calling in your blessings from doing the work of the previous moon phase. Ooh, these are sticky. I might give them another shuffle. And don't think I'm gonna take reversals here. Watch, I'll say that and immediately I'll take a reversal. I don't know. I'm in a bit of a silly mood and I'm not sure why. Okay. These are the ones that we are going to take for today. Okay, so some shadow work that we can consider working on. Holy shit. 42. Loyalty to innermost truth. Integrity. Like, this card came out. What are we doing here? Should I just stop reading? Innermost integrity. This card has come out, I think, the last 2 times that I've actually used the shadow deck. And what I was speaking of at the time was this idea of like the grounding and receiving our inspiration into our hands from above. So I think that what you were being asked to do this moon cycle is to, oh, this was the other card that I had, and now is where it fits in. So this one fell out when I was doing my pre-shuffle. It says, a consistent formula gives me consistent results. So what we're really being asked to do here is to look at the ways in which we have operated since the new moon in Aquarius 6 months ago. And over the last 6 months, in what ways have we stood in our integrity and innermost truth and grounded that to receive our blessings from the higher realm? Like learning to understand the basics of mathematics and then having the successful experience of understanding the results of their application. Once you have a formula for understanding your world that is always consistent, it will yield consistent results to you. So for me, like I was just saying before we pull these cards, that one of the things that has been very good for me and has been giving me consistent results is this idea of not seeing anything as positive, 100% positive, or not seeing anything as 100% negative, and then trying to work on my framing around negative things, and make sure that when I'm reframing them, I'm reframing them in a way that is optimistic and sort of guides me to that next step to remain in integrity. So I think that that is a really valid and interesting card to come out. In the sway of influence is the next card, which is an interesting way to put something, right? In the sway of influence. Being in the sway of something means that you're not the one that's controlling it, right? It's like being tossed in the breeze or being thrown in the tide. And then the mantra is create with your authentic self. So I'm getting 2 messages from downloads from this. The first one is that we create our own reality, yes, but we create it out of a quantum field where there's infinite other probabilities, there's infinite potential in that void, and all of whatever goes into that vortex and into that quantum field has an opportunity to manifest. And it's essentially, I'm going to say, the hand of God, which what I mean by that is there is a play of energy, right? sattva, raja, tamas, energy, light, and dark forces. So transmutation, light and dark, the trimurti at play. So while we are always in a sway of influence, we do have the ability to create from our place of authenticity. And one of the most important things of being able to create from an authentic space is to actually be realistic about where you are, like to get very real about exactly where you are. Because if we can understand where we are, if we really know where we are on the time-space fabric, then what we're projecting back out into the quantum realm with our desires is is more likely to take, because it's more rooted in reality. So that's why grounding can be quite important. And then the second thing that I got from this was just that I don't know where the balloons came from. That we are actually maybe going to experience on our way to the next new moon a period where it feels like there's a lot of influence around us, and that maybe we feel a little bit out of control. The next card that we have is the bigger picture. And this is also something that I've been talking about on the channel for the last month. So one of the tools that I've found really, really helpful, and it's from Abraham Hicks, is with the law of attraction. When we have a desire and we want something, we know what it is that we want. We connect with the feeling of what it is that we want to experience, and then we allow it to manifest in our reality. But if we're being too specific about how that feeling is supposed to be manifested within us, we can block our own ability to manifest, because we're being too specific, and that might not be a quantum possibility anymore, right? So it's like, I want this to happen this way. I want to get to, I don't know, I want to get from one side of LA to the other side of LA, and I want to take this route. Well, if there's traffic jams all around, we're not saying you can't get to your destination, but you're not going to be able to get to it from that desired route. So what we need to do is pull back, which is like the directions, I'm going to take I-75, I'm going to take, and like I-95, and then pull back from the direction, see the desired goal, which is the destination again, and allow the way to reach that destination to like repopulate in our reality. And so it says the bigger picture, see all sides without contradiction. So I think a lot of that is about letting go and releasing of the, those things, that the way that we think that thing needs to manifest in our reality. The way that that feeling that we desire is going to manifest. So then I had another card here, and I don't actually think that it's the right spot for it. So we'll just leave that to the side for a minute. So in regards to these two cards, in this way of influence and the bigger picture, create with your authentic self, see all sides without contradiction, we have, I'm a physical extension of source energy. And so what I got from that in pulling this card, the download that I got for you guys, is that we really have to watch, because when we are working against the system, and I don't mean like our political system. I'm talking about this system, the spirit, when we're working against spiritual laws, and if we are struggling in the sway of influence, it can manifest as physical dis-ease, which can turn into disease. So we just need to make sure that we are conscious and cognizant of that this month. Okay, now I'm going to move these cards and dive in and take a look at, so now that we have called in some of those more unique expressions of ways to solve our problems, we have potentially ascertained whether through the Lionsgate portal, whether or not that is the best way for us to go about implementing our desired solution. We are now going to move into the waxing phase of the moon. And so this is the time when, so we've sort of reached the culmination of those energies, and now it's sort of like you're on a wave, you're at the top of the wave, and you're ready to, now we're diving in, we're going into the wave, we're riding the wave of the momentum into the future that we have been able to create for ourselves or transmute for ourselves, the spiritual growth that we've had over those last 6 months. And so, yeah, I need to get onto this course. So with the moon, when we work with the moon phases, we're working with, so we're working between the new moon in a sign and the full moon in that sign, which is like a year and a half sort of thing. We get interesting points of opposition there at the half phase, and then obviously we're working month to month with setting goals and intentions at the new moon and then following through with them in the full moon, understanding which signs we're bridging, and obviously the next step is to take that into a more personal level. So, you know, Aquarius for me is it bridges my 5th and my 6th house. So I'm now looking at then how that is how those goals are manifesting and those things are manifesting relative to my personal houses as well. So that's something that can be helpful for you guys to look at, and maybe I'll see if I can get my handy AI assistant to draft me up a download for the website. Actually, that's what we'll do. Hit me up on email and use the subject line free lunar download, and I will have that sent out to anybody who emails me just with that the subject line. I'll flick that back to you, and that is also an indication that you're willing to go onto my subscription list. So I think I'm going to be doing a newsletter, and so I had a website for 2 years, and the majority of my clients are actually word of mouth references. So some obviously come through the channel, but then usually I'll get their friends that will book me for a reading, or I get a lot of word of mouth recommendation as well. So the website wasn't super useful to me, but now that, you know, I'm posting more publicly, and the channel is growing, maybe I should get that website. But nonetheless, I will get a newsletter set up. So if you want to get a free download on the lunar, how to work with the lunar phases by the end of the month, hit me up. It is goddessilluminated144@gmail.com. Okay, so how do we integrate what has come out of the Lionsgate and the full moon here? This is interesting. That I went to pull that as the general situation, but then it did turn sideways. So I think I might actually have to read these both ways. So we have got the Eight of Pentacles in reverse, which has come out as the primary energy. And the Eight of Pentacles is all about hard work and doing things over and over again, repetition. The challenge here right now is the Knight of Pentacles, or loyalty, stability, and a framework for manifesting things. The Knight of Pentacles is about getting things ready. In the traditional Rider Waite, he's in front of a field that's already been plowed and is ready for seed to be sown. So it's like having the framework and the foundations and this, like the skeletal framework to manifest what it is that you're choosing to manifest. So with the Eight of Pentacles in reverse here, it can say to me that right now you're actually, for the systems at work, if we want to use the Pentacles as a suit about work, at work, right now you're lacking those systems in order to be able to grow the seed and have the harvest that you want. Now, or there's something in your life that you're doing over and over again. For some of you, I just got a download that this is actually about your workouts. So, and the download that I got was just like that you need to switch up your workout. Doing the same things over and over again, this came up in reverse, is where you're going to get gains. So that is for a small number of people. But I have to say that I've had more male subscribers in the last 2 weeks than I have ever had. So that's interesting to me as well. Just that the majority of, it was interesting that when I first started the channel, it was like a really good mix of men and women. But my viewership in the last 3 weeks has been like 70, nearly 80% male dominated. So we've got a lot of men watching the channel right now. So maybe that's where these workout messages are coming from. Now, the other way I wanted to read the cards was them coming out in the opposite position, because that was initially how I had intended on drawing them, and then they just came out the other way. So if the Knight of Pentacles is in our general energy and the Eight of Pentacles is our crossing energy, it says that in order for us to grow what it is that we want to grow, we have to be willing to do something over and over again. And maybe I wanted to pull the card from, like, remember I said like it came out the other way, but I wanted to pull it this way. This makes a lot of sense for me right now, because I have started doing some challenges for myself. So 30, 60, and 90-day challenges where I do the exact same thing every day for those 3 different time frames, different things, different time frames. And I wanted to record it all and then spin it off as a second channel. I'm still doing the things, like some of them are workout things, some of them are like, some of them are health and fitness, some of them are nutrition, some of them are meditation, but I haven't been recording them. So it's like I could come on and jump on and do a video and talk about, all right, guys, I meditated for 45 minutes every day for a month, and this is what's happened. But like, how do we know that I've actually done it if I haven't recorded myself doing it, right? So so that's why that message came out that way for me. And this may be, again, those plays of how this energy is manifesting right now with men, like the male-female divide. So for women, what it is that we might have to be focused on is being able to be consistent. And with men, it's actually about breaking that consistency in order to look at how they need to set themselves up for the, you know, what it is that they desire in the future. So that was really, really interesting. And I actually now think that I want to continue with this, like I call it like the cross part of the Celtic cross. But I want to split it men and women again, because I'm actually, that was actually, so let's see if I can grab the cards in the Rider Waite and we will set them up. So with the women, I was saying, for me, I was seeing, it was like Knight of Pentacles with 8 of Pentacles crossing. So let me just find the Knight of Pentacles and the 8 of Pentacles here in Rider, and I'm going to set them up. All right. Actually, I need to pull this one out. I don't even know why that's in there. Knight of Pentacles. And then the 8 of Pentacles. Here we go. Alright. And the Knight of Pentacles. So we're going to continue on, just so this is, I was going to continue to use the light seers for women, but I think I'm going to switch over. And like I said, because I've been having so many men viewing the channel content in the last couple of weeks, I think we'll keep the lights, we'll use the light seers for the men, and we'll use the, okay, so women, we have got here, in order to grow things, we need to be willing to put in the work over and over again, or be able to repeat something over and over again. And for men, we are talking about what it is that we want to grow and being willing to let go. So let go of control. So it tells me that there is going to be some challenges coming up, you know, both over the short lunation of the month and the greater lunation cycles of between the masculine and the feminine, because the feminine is looking in and needs to be focused on repetition, and the men are being asked to break that repetition and action. So this is obviously going to cause some challenges. I got cards flying out of the deck. And it's like, okay, so what it's going to cause is some bruised egos over the next year and a half. So moving back over to the women, let's take a look and now ask about what is the foundation of this change? What is the root require, like what is the cause of the need to make this transformation? And these are the cards I want right here. What is the root cause of the need to want this foundation? Okay. And the answer is the Queen of Wands. So using our intuition, building up fire and passion for something, which is interesting because I'm gonna say, okay, so it's like the Queen of Wands is they're, you know, very creative, right? The Queen of Cups is creative as well, but the Queen of Wands can be a big picture thinker, yeah, and very sort of spiritually creative as well. So it's saying that for women, in order for us to enhance the Queen of Wands energy, that we need to create order in order to have inspiration. And for men, what is the root cause here of giving up their current ways of doing things, or the way that they generally repeat things, in order to create the framework for stability. Okay. So for the men, the reason that we have to break with the way that we're doing things is because the Ten of Swords in reverse. So the Ten of Swords is the end of thoughts, or the completion of a thought cycle, or a way of thinking. And you are being asked, men, I'm not sure what I wanted to say there, masculines, you are being asked to be willing to break with your traditional way of doing things in order to plant the seeds and create the foundation that you want, because an old way of thinking is just not ending. It's just, if it was the Ten of Swords upright, it's the end. It's the end of that old paradigm, but something is not ending, therefore a new approach needs to be taken. And that new approach involves moving beyond the way that you've been addressing things over and over again. Okay. For women, what is behind us is the Page of Cups in reverse. Page of Cups is my stupid card. So when I read for myself, this card usually means stupid something. So for women, this is about removing stupidity, but also, when I read for other people, this is illusion. This is something that is potentially not real. We've got a fish in the glass, in a drinking glass. Is this fish actually even there? So what we want to do, and what we're looking at, is removing. We need to put better cycles in place, put more practice, repeat certain things in order to move out of that place of stupidity. Now I'm going to finish up the women's, and then we'll move on to the men's. So the highest that we can achieve in this current situation is about that grounding. It's about grounding in what we want, but grounding in what we want with the ability to know how to nurture it, right? The Queen of Pentacles is, why did I say know how to nurture it? Because we can't keep things when we don't actually know how to nurture them, right? This is like, I don't actually like this reference because it kind of breaks with my ethical way of viewing the world, but I'm going to say it anyways because it's what came to mind. But you put people who from low income areas into multi-million-dollar mansions, and they're not going to take care of that mansion. Not straight away, because they don't know how to, because it's not in their experience. So it's for us, it's about repeating those systems that are going to allow us to learn how to nurture the things that are manifesting in our existence. And what's in front of us is the Knight of Wands in reverse and the Nine of Swords. So it's telling me that the feminine aspect is going to struggle and have a bit of anxiety because they're going to lack a bit of willpower with this Knight of Wands here. They're going to lack a little bit of willpower with the Knight of Wands here in reversed. And so, you know, our feminine energies are going to struggle a little bit here with putting these systems in place. Let's pull a card for, I still don't know where this card came out and why it's come out. So let's pull a card for the feminine energies on how we can actually help move past this lack of willpower, because we don't want to have this anxiety creeping up. If that anxiety creeps up and it's not addressed, it's actually just going to stabilize in more anxiety in relation to these cycles, or this repetition, or lack of being able to implement the repetition here. So the first one is that all that is benefiting from my existence, and I learned to pay attention to my feelings. Okay, so what I'm getting from this is that because we are potentially going to lack this willpower to implement these systems. Like for me, it's literally getting out. I've got like 101 like external recorders. I literally just need to like wire them up everywhere, so that to a Raspberry Pi, so that when I roll out of bed in the morning and I start my yoga, I don't have to get up and turn on 101 pieces of technology to record myself doing that yoga session. So putting the systems into place to allow us to achieve those goals. Paying attention to when we are feeling like we don't want to do the things that we've assigned ourselves to do. And somehow that is connected to this card here, which is all about understanding that we have our own place in existence. So I've got the download down. Okay, so some negative things might occur. And I don't think that it's actually going to be about ourselves. I think it's going to be to people in our environment. And this card, all that is, the entire universe is benefiting from my existence. So maybe there are some lessons here that are going to be, there's some lessons that other people are going to be learning from you, or these systems and processes that you put in place for yourself, this repetition is going to benefit other people as well. So, you know, just in relation to my comment about myself, so I want to do these videos, the mini challenge videos. If I realize that even if I don't want to do it, that I'm doing it because everybody else is benefiting, then what that's doing is it's allowing me to maybe gain those followers or have that traction, because I'm actually now learning that if I wanted to be a spiritual influencer, then it's about being able to provide the content that the people in the collective actually need. So that's just giving you an example of how I've sort of related that through to my own previous example. But I did heavily get here that for some of you, this is going to be about other people sort of getting their karma, and you needing to create systems around yourself to protect your own loyalty to self and self-process. So that did come in as well. Okay, moving on to the masculine energy. What can we say about what is the past and what is our highest potential in this situation? And what is the future outcome, please? All right, masculines. Okay. So the past situation here is, it's funny. Okay, we have got a lot of wiggling and jiggling with the male and female energies. So in the past here for women, we had the Page of Cups in reverse, right? So the reason we're doing this is because we're getting rid of stupid. We're getting rid of illusions. The masculines have had the Page of Cups in the upright here. So it's the exact opposite for the masculine energy. And that's what I was saying, that so the masculines have to look at the way that they have been doing the same thing over and over again, but potentially not achieving the results that they want, not being able to, like, they're not sowing the seeds that they want from that activity. And it's causing illusions, it's causing challenges, it's causing confusion about, like, are their feet on the ground or are their feet in the sky? Like, there's a lot of confusion around where they're at and where they're going, because they're doing the same thing over and over, and it's unconscious. And that's those cycles, those Eight of Pentacles, need to be, that cycle needs to be broken, to come out of this Ten of Swords in reverse energy, doing the same thing over and over and not achieving the result that we're looking at for. Okay, so the highest that we can achieve in this situation, we've got the Hermit in reverse and the Seven of Pentacles. So this just says to me that it's essentially time to come out of hiding and to look at what it is that we've grown. And, you know, with regards to breaking these thought patterns, and getting to the end of a thought pattern, we've spent a lot of time in Hermit here. So when the Hermit card comes out in reverse, it usually means that, it can mean that a time of introspection is required, but it can also mean that we've overcooked the introspection. We have introspected this in every way possible, and now it's time to actually look at what have we gained from that period of introspection. So what can we learn if we change up our workout routine? Say we're not making any gains in our upper pecs, and we're like, okay, well, I always do flat bench first and then do incline. Well, what can I take from that learning? So let's change that up. Let's not do flat bench first. Maybe we don't even do flat bench every week. Let's, you know, pump up and look at our just doing incline first, and then let's look at how we implemented that solution that was out of the box and out of the ordinary in that one aspect of just our upper chest, and how can we apply that to our whole workout routine? What is that learning? How is that seed of knowledge going to grow into something better for us? And in the outcome, we have the Four of Swords and the Seven of Wands in reverse. Four of Swords is a card of resting, relaxing, and rejuvenating. That's not the typical meaning. Typical meaning is a dark night of the soul, and needing to get back to your spiritual center or understand where your spiritual grounding is. But this deck does it, you know, uses it more as rest, relax, and rejuvenate. The Seven of Wands is a very focused and pointed card, and it has come out in reverse. So I think that what this is asking us to do is put an end with this rest, relax, and rejuvenate card. Put an end to scattered energy. So one thing about the Seven of Wands is that all of the wands are sort of pointing in one direction. So it can be about directing our energy and directing our focus. And so when it's come up in reverse, that is what we're being asked to do. we're being asked to move away from the scattered energy. I feel like I'm missing something a little bit here, but I'm not sure what. I'm gonna have to just wait for the download. This woman in this version of the Seven of Wands, she's got this bubble around her. She's got this like bubble of protection. And in the Rider Waite, the Seven of Wands is actually somebody sort of protecting themselves as well, but more with the wands, right? They're standing at the edge of the hill and they've got the wand and they're like poking at people coming at the hill towards them. But they're not really on sure footing in the traditional Rider Waite. Whereas she looks very quite comfortable and grounded here in the way that she's creating this protective energy around her. But what I'm getting is that the systems that we have been employing and using religiously, which the Knight of Pentacles can mean loyalty or like dedication towards something. So those systems that we have had in place are what's causing this illusion about us having the correct protection. So masculine active energy needs to realize that those systems are in fact they're not actually achieving this outcome here of rejuvenation. There's no rejuvenation happening, potentially because we're following old systems of logic and outdated modes of thinking. Okay, so let's pull some cards here for the masculine about how they can be working with these energies. And I still have the card where I have no idea why it's part of the reading. Okay. I will never get there, so I will enjoy my journey. And this has come out in reverse. And it's come out in this side of the past with this Page of Cups here. So what this is saying to me is that the masculines are under some level of illusion that they can't enjoy themselves right now because they're not where they want to be. So they're being too rigid with these systems and same ways of doing things, and they're not breaking out of that pattern of the way that they're responding to grow what it is that they want to grow. They're not happy. They're not enjoying it. And like this is almost like, and the Eight of Pentacles can be of working too hard, right? So what the masculines are being asked to do here is to allow themselves to do things differently so that they can bring more enjoyment into their cycle. And I think that that's why this crossing energy has come up here, is because if the masculines have had this outdated way of thinking and manifesting, then the systems that they're creating, the oxen plow? What's it called? I forget. The yoke, or the saddle that goes onto your ox. The yoke. They aren't yoking in the proper foundations. So remember at the beginning of the read where we were talking about being able to see the good side of things to have the reality, but to step out by seeing the good of where we're at, and sort of starting with contentment. So that's what I'm getting here. The reason the masculines are being asked to chop and change and to not be so consistent with an old pattern is because they're not enjoying it. So when you continue to do something that you're not enjoying, it's not getting you the results that you want, but you're unwilling to make a change, you're going to draw more of the same to you. You have to find a spot where within your current situation, you can enjoy some aspect of where you're at so that you can move from a move in a more forward and positive, loving, open into the future. Okay, the next two cards that I got is my attention to it invites it in, and that came up in reverse. So I suspect that the masculines are potentially giving too much attention to something that they don't want to manifest in their reality. And by giving it their attention, that's what they're manifesting in. So that's just classic law of attraction. Wait because you feel ungrounded. Wait because you feel unprotected. This is like a lack of having had that dark night of the soul to understand spiritually where you're coming, to know that you're protected and moving forward. So she knows that she's protected. She can see the light of protection around her that she's been able to generate through her grounding. And so what this is saying from the masculine perspective is that there has been some lack of understanding where they're protected, and that's because they're not coming from a spiritually grounded place. So focus, masculines, on your spirituality and your spiritual beliefs, and whether or not you're living those, and where you're not living them, look to break them. Look to change them up. Look to try something different until you get into a feeling of this grounding and this sure footing and this knowing. And that's going to happen as this illusion and Page of Cups sort of dissipates. The next card I pulled was that my emotional set points can be changed. I'm just going to read this. It says your set points are achieved by attention to subject. We want you to understand the extreme value in deliberately achieving your own set points, because once you expect something, it will come. The details of it may play out differently, but the vibrational essence will always be an exact match. So this did come out in reverse, and this sort of ties beautifully back to the beginning of the reading where I was saying that, we need to look back at where maybe some more alternative views or more Aquarian views of that, and look at adopting some of those, right? So the challenge here is the light for me right now. Okay. I can't find a spot where I'm like not black in the face. Trust me, I'm not that tanned right now. Okay. So masculines, you need to end the thought patterns, and in order to do so, you need to be trying on new spiritual. You have to still go through this dark night of the soul, because there's something ungrounded in your spirituality, and that ungroundedness seems to be a belief that what you need is external to yourself. And I've got a few male friends in my life that I definitely know are going through this right now. It's definitely a lesson that's coming up for them, and they haven't actually got the foundation and stability in the right way to negotiate that. So, you know, I can see them sort of falling back into the same sort of cycles. So we have to realize that we have to be sure in ourselves. And the only way that we can be sure in ourselves and in our spiritual laws and spiritual knowledge is to try something different and see what the results are, and then to continue to implement the things that work and discard the rest. All right, guys, I am going to pull one of Izzy's Lemuria cards for us. Make sure those are all just cards. And this is a message for the masculine and feminine energies for the next 2 weeks. We've got a lot of cards here, so I am potentially just going to read a little bit from each of them. Oh, there's only 3. Okay, so we've got evolution, and it came up in reverse. So obviously we want to think about turning this card upright. So when I read this, we need to think about what it is that we need to be doing in and of ourselves to cause this evolution to occur. So right now we are not embracing this. It's come out in reverse. There's a lack of evolution in something. All right. It says, consider what evolution means to you. Is your evolution about growth, expansion, adaptation, success, or becoming a better version of yourself? Look for ways to flourish in the face of challenge. Break a problem down into its elements. Be creative and consider how you can make it more fun and inspiring. Alternatively, ask how you can learn, grow, and become stronger through what is happening for you. My housemates have just gotten home. I can hear the cruiser coming up now. So I'm going to have a house full in about 5 minutes when they get up the hill. So good, actually, right on time, right? I just said we're at the end of the meeting. Oh my goodness, I got a cute little jumping spider that's just dropped in. Oh my goodness, she's so cute. Okay, our next 2 cards, healing and sacral chakra. So healing the sacral chakra. Sacral chakra is our sense of stability. It's our sense of security. It's the sense of our sense of belonging. It's the sense of knowing that we're safe. So we need to be considerate over the next 2 weeks of looking. This is as we come out of this full moon, and as we come up to the new moon, we need to be considerate of where we need more healing in our sacral chakra. So being attentive. When do fears come up? When do we feel ungrounded? When do we feel unstable? And look at addressing those. And I feel like for both the masculines and the feminines, that is what is going to carry us over into the new moon. And we will be looking at that in 2 weeks' time. All right, thanks, guys. I did want to say that I'm trying to negotiate. I live in a house of a whole bunch of spiritual people, and everybody's got like different times when they practice yoga, meditation. And I am having a hard time finding a good time to do my readings because somebody's always fucking meditating. It's like, I'll like get all set up and then come out to do a reading, and I went to do that 2 days ago, and then like the sun was set, it was pitch black, I didn't have the lights that I needed, and then I was like, fuck, all right, I'm not gonna get the reading done. Actually, I might, maybe I did knock one out anyways. Actually, I don't know if I posted it. I think we had a Wi-Fi issue that day. Anyway, I'm yammering on. It's my intent to get on, and because I keep saying I'm going to do a twin flame update, and like twin flame masculine, feminine, and divine energies. Looking again at, where were we when we had I forget what it's called, that twisty thing that they use, that the medics and the doctors use as their symbol. But yeah, I'm deeply feeling a need to do a twin flame reading. I think I will be able to do one Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We kind of sort of negotiated some like 3 or 4 time periods during the week where I could make noise and not bother people in meditation. Likewise, we often have house parties and barbecues and things like that at night. So last night I went to jump on to do the Lionsgate reading for you guys, and there ended up being a full barbecue happening. So all of that stuff is going to be worked on, and I will be, as a feminine, putting those structures in place, and my masculine energy will be releasing the need for structure so that I can actually get down to it. All right, love you guys. We'll see you soon.